Here's Andy from the future. How are you doing? Got a great video for you today. Look, I've got a special message for you. As you probably noticed, the sound's pretty rubbish and there's no questions on the screen. I deleted that part of my footage by accident, so yeah, sorry. Enjoy the video, bye. Hi folks, it's Andy. Welcome to this week's Kendo Rant. I've got plenty of questions for you today, but don't forget to check out the Teespring store where you can get a face mask or a t-shirt or anything else like that that will support the channel. More about that later. Right, hi Andy. If the current guidance on wearing masks and reducing kakegoe, do you think there will be a change in how Yuko Datotsu is assessed? Maybe more emphasis on kikentai and zanshin over a verbal and voluminous kiai. Maybe. So what you're asking is because of the current restrictions and stuff, wearing masks and what have you, so that we can get back to keiko, maybe they'll reduce the criteria of Yuko Datotsu or valid strikes in order to not require such a loud shout. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. These masks and stuff are definitely by the All Japan Kendo Federation considered, I think, as a temporary measure. They're not looking to make permanent changes to how, like, Kendo is judged in terms of the criteria of Yuko Datotsu, because it's such a core component of what Kendo is. We're not talking about Shiai, awarding Ippon in Shiai. The concept of Yuko Datotsu is not limited to that. It is what we're trying to do in Kendo, is achieve Yuko Datotsu. So no, I don't think that they are going to, I don't think there will be any move whatsoever to reduce or remove the voice element of that at all. In fact, in Japan right now, they've started doing gradings again. They're starting to do tournaments again. And although they're wearing masks and they're recommending the shields, they actually are clearly saying in lots of parts that you can just shout as normal. They're not asking for even reduced shouting now. So one of the guidance things I saw for a grading said you have to wear the mask underneath your men, but we're happy for you to shout as normal. So they're not moving in that direction at all. Next one, shower thought question. What if there were new rules which allow a competitor to have a radio earpiece headset inside the ear and our sensei is allowed to speak to us, giving us tactical advice from the side of the shiaijo? Will that be any beneficial, or are we completely on our own in shiai? I don't think it'll be as beneficial as you might think, actually. Obviously, it's not that uncommon for teachers or coaches or senseis or kantoku to shout from the sidelines like a little bit of advice. In Japan that happens a lot, especially with kids shiai. It happens an awful lot. It's you're not supposed to do it really. It's kind of frowned upon. You're supposed to be on your own in the shiaijo. You're not supposed to take the coaching, but it's not like there's no real rules that sort of penalize it, but yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. And like, it'd really distract me, I think, if I had a radio earpiece with somebody talking in my ear whilst I was trying to concentrate on the shiai. That would be kind of annoying. I'm happy enough with the chances I get if usually like in my competitive days, you would have, like, if there was a break in the shiai when you'd return to the kaishisen, to the line, usually at that point you'd sort of look over to your coach and they'd give you a bit of advice or a signal, like, calm down or keep doing or keep calm, something like that. And that's pretty much enough for me. Having said that, when my kids are fighting, I'm quite bad for shouting. So yeah, it's probably best that they don't have that sort of distraction. I know you've spoken about vegan burger and the rawhide around the mengane, but what about the shinai? Would it be possible to make a range of shinai with synthetic skagawa? No, I'm afraid. It costs far too much, and there's just not a market for it. The idea of the sort of vegan shinai or burger, the market for it is just far too small. So yeah, it would just cost so much. There currently, I think there is, I have seen like synthetic leather Tsukagawa before, the actual grip, but it was really expensive. So like a basic shinai would be like three times the cost. But I've never seen the even though the grip was synthetic leather, the sakigawa and the nakayu was still normal leather. So, and like I say, you can't get around the membuchi, and I guess you can get around the other parts really, but well, not just the membuchi. There's like the tojikawa and stuff as well. There's several parts that are using animal products, and I don't see a move away from that, I'm afraid. So yeah. Next one. Hello, Andy Fisher-san. Genki desu ka? Genki desu. My question is regarding Kirikaeshi for I'm not sure if you mean Shodan Shinsa or Shodan Shinsa. They're two different words. I'm going to assume you mean Shodan, so like first dan. The word for gradings in Japan, for dan gradings, in Japanese is Shodan Shinsa. Shodan means to rise. Rise amongst the dan ranks. So it's a grading to raise the dan rank. But I think you mean Shodan, which is Shodan, first dan. Would you recommend big or small men and Kirikaeshi and Kaishi men and for Nidan Shinsa and above? Thanks and take care. So essentially, Kirikaeshi should be large, powerful, quick, and smooth. They're the four sort of main things that Kirikaeshi should be in its sort of completion at the highest level. There are sort of small Kirikaeshi, but in your grading, if you have to do Kirikaeshi, I recommend you use the large swings of the shinai, because you won't be able to display the things that the grading panel's looking for, and whether that's shodan or nidan or sandan, or even I've even seen them have to do Kirikaeshi up to godan. So yeah, I'd stick with the large strikes. I'd do that in your practice as well, to be honest, not just in your grading. For the jitsugi though, the actual keiko, you don't have to just do large strikes. If you can do the small strikes, that's perfectly acceptable. Yeah, because you're not going to hit anyone if you're swinging the shinai like that. That's not why we do large strikes. It's for the mechanics of learning how to cut properly. So. Next one. Hi, I wonder how the koshita embroidery is possible given that there's a piece of plastic inside the back of the hakama. I guess my guess would be that the embroidery machine can't get past that. Could you please shed some light on the process? Thanks. Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So the koshita is the hard board that sits against the bottom of your spine, you know, at the top of the hakama. And yeah, it's a piece of, there's a plastic board in there, that's why it's hard. And you can have embroidery on the koshita. So sometimes you see the hakama with embroidered letters on that part. It looks pretty cool. And I always wondered that as well before I got into the Borg business years and years ago. I always wondered, I wonder how they get that, I wonder how they do that. Like they must have a really strong machine. And then when you see it, there's nothing on the inside of the hakama, there's no marks or anything like that. What they do is, and this is why it's quite difficult to do it, and it's usually quite a bit more expensive to do koshita embroidery than on other parts of the uniform. They have to unstitch it, all right? So they unstitch the koshita and open it up, it opens up like a flat ply that. They unstitch it, they take the board out, embroider it, put the board back in, close it again, stitch it back up, and that's how it's done. So the needle and the embroidery machine can't go through the board, and it's taken apart, embroidered, and put back together again. Next one. Hi Andy, I just have two questions. I had my new set of Borga for a few months now. However, recently during Keiko, the kote himo started coming apart and loosening despite me trying to retying and weaving the ends through the kote. Is there something I can do about it? And 2, I've been having jigeko with a few senseis. However, every time I try to semi, it doesn't work, and the sensei doesn't seem to notice that I've been trying to semi. So for the kote himo, what you can do is tie them up and tie them in a double knot around the himo. When you tie it up, so pull them to, lace them to the desired tightness, and then tie it in a single knot. Wrap the thread through the laced over threads, and then tie it again in a double knot, and then cut them, right? But pull it really tight, and then so it's fully tied up, and then cut them, leaving about like an inch or 2 off, to spare, and then take a little bit of tape and just tape around the ends so they don't come all frayed and unraveled, and I'm sure that'll be fine. All right, because you can't have kote himo dangling down. Number 2 is I've been having jigeko with a few sensei. However, every time I've tried to do semi, it doesn't work, and the sensei don't seem to notice that I've been trying to do semi. That's the idea of being a sensei. You're not supposed to. It doesn't work on the sensei, of course. That's why they're the sensei. Because semi means that you have influence on their, influence on them. Usually, it manifests in some kind of fear or a reaction in order to avoid being hit. Now that means that they're not afraid of you hitting them. All right, so if your semi doesn't work, it's because your waza isn't good enough, your technique isn't good enough. So the only way to make your semi stronger, in order to be effective against higher level people, is to raise your own ability so that they feel like that they may get hit. So you have to train hard. Okay, just keep practicing the basics and improve your ability, your striking ability, improve your kamae, and you'll start to see it work. It takes a long time, a really long time. Okay, so be patient too. Next one. Hi Andy, why in Kendo we use most of the time the navy blue colour in our Kendogi and Hakama instead of other colours, maybe black or white all the time? Is there some reason for that? Yes, there's a reason for that. Traditionally, aizome, which is the dark navy indigo dye that's used in Kendo equipment, it's been used for centuries in Japan. It was something that they believe that the samurai were fond of, because the natural aizome dye is said to be like a kind of natural antibacterial, anti-odorant substance. All right, so if you were like in those days when they didn't have like running hot water, or they were out at battle on campaigns and stuff, they that was a benefit, of course. I think I heard somewhere as well that it was like it helped to stop bleeding and stuff like that, but I don't know. I don't know if any of that's true. It's probably not, but it is a fact that the dyeing of aizome is a traditional Japanese craft, and it's part of Japanese culture that has come through the centuries along with Kendo, and that is why we use indigo colour, the dark navy colour, in Kendo, as a way of preserving that culture in a way. We sometimes use white. People would use white in the old days because it was cheaper than having the dyed one, because it's not dyed. So people who were beginners or new or didn't have much money would use white as opposed to navy dyed ones. These days there's like synthetic dyed ones or synthetic materials and stuff. It's a lot cheaper, and so blue is by far the overall main colour. We don't use black in Kendo. I know they do in other martial arts like EI and stuff like that, but we don't use it in Kendo. So yeah. Next one. Hi Andy, whilst I mostly understand the differences between Borgu sets up to $2,000, what differentiates the lower end Tezashi Borgu from those reaching upwards of $10,000 price point? Okay, so yeah, I know there is really expensive Tezashi's hand stitched Borgu, by the way, out there. Obviously, all hand-stitched Borgu is quite pricey because it has to be stitched wholly by hand. I tend to find that around the sort of $2,000 markish is the sweet spot for good quality and also good value. You can spend more and more and more, and up to a point that's like investing in tighter stitching, possibly better materials, but actually you can get top grade materials now for pretty decent if you know, but what happens is you can spend on materials that you don't need. So like there's like really expensive mengane, for example, full IBB titanium pro mengane, for example, like that on its own is like a $500 mengane, and it looks really nice because it's really high polished, but like from a practical point of view, it's heavy, it's cumbersome, so I actually don't like those mengane. Things like obviously bamboo door will definitely push the price up. So if you have a bamboo door, that's going to add onto that price, which is why I say like around that sort of 2,000-ish, between 2 and 3,000 is like the best, if you know you want the bamboo door and stuff like that. Our Kanza to set, for example, I think that's like around it's in pounds, so it's around the £2,600 mark, so it gets up to like £3,000 if you have a bamboo door on it. But obviously we, occasionally we get a deal with our workshop, and we'll get, we'll buy some of the materials in bulk and stuff, so we can get the price down, and we'll have a sale on that, and you can usually pick one of those up for like between 2 and 2,500, even with a bamboo door. So the other things that push it up are things like the type of leather that's used on the mune. If you use like deer skin on the mune instead of kurozan, that can make it a bit more expensive. And then there's more expensive versions of kurozan as well, which they don't make a difference to the performance, they're just completely aesthetic. And then when you get to that point where it's like, of course you could put a samedo on it. A samedo is like a ray skin door. They sometimes call it a shark skin door, but it's not really shark, it's stingray skin. And they're like that'll fire the price up really quickly. But once you get past like spending like I'd say like $4,000 or $5,000, you're starting to get into the territory there of like just you're paying for prestige. Like there's things like there's certain, I'm not going to mention any brands or stuff, but there's like some Japanese brands of mune that are very, very expensive because they're a very well-known made brand, and they're handmade mune, they're perfectly good quality, but you could pay like $700-800 just for the mune, because it's that brand of mune. Or the door die, for example, you can get a really beautiful high polished gloss black bamboo door, but if it's from a specific workshop with a specific name, then that'll add like $1,000 price tag on it. Even though you could get the exact same quality from not exactly the same workshop. So I'd say that once you start getting past that sort of $4,000 mark, you start getting into the territory of you're sort of paying for for the prestige in a way, if that makes sense. It's a bit like, I'm no expert on cars, but if you say like you're looking at the difference between like say an everyday family sedan and then something like a Mercedes or BMW or something like that, and then you're looking at something like a Rolls Royce. It's like, of course it's a higher grade car, like quality wise there's probably not the difference that the price represents. You're paying for that prestige, if you know what I mean. And I think that's what you're getting into when you look at those like $10,000 Borg sets. You won't see me wearing one of those, to be honest. I'd rather have three of a different Borg sets. Next one. Hi Andy, more of a philosophical question. What are you channeling or thinking about when you kiai during a shiai? Is it anger and aggression? Kendo to me has many moments of quiet and focus and zen, but there's also the other side of competitive and martial spirit. How do these two things fit together for you as a higher level Kendoka? Thanks. So for me, when I'm doing my kakegoi, my hase, I don't have feelings of anger or aggression. Like, I don't, especially not in Shiai. that won't help. That definitely won't help. What I'm doing is I'm sort of focusing. I'm using that first initial ki more to sort of bring myself up to the, bring myself to the game in a way. And it's not like I'm going to try and affect them. I'm not like, right, I'm going to get you sort of thing. It's not like that. It's more me bringing my own concentration together in a way, and then I'm very concentrated on the opponent and watching what they're doing, watching how they're reacting, seeing how they interact with me and how they react to my movements. Whilst at the same time, I'm trying at the utmost to concentrate to the very best of my ability in order to react instantly to how the situation might change, even if it's in an unexpected direction. That's what I'm trying to do, all right? Yeah, I think that's what I'd say. Next one. Hi Andy, hope you and the family are well. Yes, thank you very much. Question on Kirikaeshi. I understand the meaning in the practice, but in reality, how long can this take to get right? I know everyone is different, but my son Mike is beating himself up because he's struggling with it. How long did it take you to get it right? Okay, so I remember this question from the group actually, and this is from someone in my dojo. So I actually know you, and I know who you're talking about. I know your son as well, and I know that he's doing super well. So he doesn't need to beat himself up at all. The thing is about Kikentai no Ichi is it is difficult and it's super unnatural, and it took me a lot longer than Mike, for example, has even been doing Kendo. So it's not something you just get like that. What happens is it's just because it's so weird, like it's sort of so unnatural, and you see it in your head. I know what I'm supposed to do, my body just won't do it. You just have to keep repeating, and practicing, and eventually a penny drops and it just comes together and then it works. I'd say for me, I don't think I got the grasp of the basics of Kikentai no Ichi. Probably I was, at least in 6 months into Kendo, before I was sort of on the way to getting it, I think. And I picked Kendo up quite quickly. So yeah, you don't need to beat yourself up about it. It is something everybody struggles with, everybody. It will come, just with practice. Like I say, it just needs for that penny to drop, and then bam, everything will change and everything will get so much easier. And then it'll start to get harder again. Next one. Hi Andy, how is the proper lengthwise and widthwise fit for a tare? I have large hips and my tare doesn't really cover the size of my legs, which gets hit directly by missed door strikes. The tare should come pretty much to about at least the middle of your thigh in terms of width. So I don't know if you can see on the video, but it should come to at least here, okay? It can go a bit further back if necessary, but it shouldn't be in front of your hip bone. It shouldn't be in front of your hip bone. It should come past, the largest panel should come past your hip bone, okay? It doesn't have to come massively past it, but it has to come past it a little bit. In terms of lengthwise, it depends on your height, but yeah, it should adequately protect your thigh. It depends on where you're getting hit. It's hard to say without seeing exactly what the situation is with yours, but yeah, that's my take on that. Next one, thoughts on single-handed door. I think this is either a problem with my wrist or my kote, but I can't seem to do a double-handed door strike and follow through to zanshin. I can still hit the door with the door first with two hands, but as I pass my opponent, I would drop my left grip and my right hand would follow through to zanshin. I've seen videos on YouTube where some someone uses a single-handed door strike, but I wonder if it's frowned upon. All right, so this is a bit of a misnomer, right? You can't hit the door with just one hand, but you can make the strike with both hands and then release the left hand as you pass through to make it easier. You can also, if I can grab a shinai, you can also slide the left hand up towards the right as well. If you definitely want to keep it on, it'll be easier if you do that. But if you have both your hands here and you hit the dynamic door and pass through, it's very hard to do that without removing your hand. It's not impossible, yeah, but most people find that difficult. Even that very high level senseis do that. All right, they strike with two hands, remove the left hand as they pass, and then return the left hand to the shinai straight away afterwards. It's perfectly acceptable to do that. It's not particularly frowned upon. It's normal. Most of the high level teachers do that, actually. In the Zenkennen, anyway. Next one. Andy, could you please share your thoughts about moving backwards but still applying semi-forwards and the point when it becomes not acceptable? So this is all based on your footwork, okay? If you want to apply semi whilst going backwards, it's all based on having a good foundation and being able to move around fluidly without wavering like this, all right? Because if you go back this way like this from your upper body like that, like this, forget trying to apply semi. It's not going to work. It's not going to work even if you push your hands out as you go backwards. It doesn't work. What you have to do is, if you want to apply semi as you go backwards, is you still use your lower body to move yourself on a stable foundation, but you apply your intent forwards as you come back. So as you come back, and your left heel must not touch the floor. If your left heel touches the floor, it's game over. All right, your left heel must not touch the floor. You keep your left heel cocked and ready to go. You take a step back, but you keep your intention forward, forward, forward. If you come and hit me, I'm going to strike you. Forward, this way, and I'm still got my intention forward this way, okay? But you don't want to do it loads and loads and loads. You don't want to do it loads, because then you're just going backwards all the time, and it's not really semi then, it's just retreating and trying not to get hit. So yeah, that's what I'd say there, if that makes sense. All right, you've got to make sure that your footwork is down, and then you can do it. All right. Okay, next one. Some of my students are struggling with the continuous kiai in Kirikaeshi. Can you give your take on it, and also when they should breathe during Kirikaeshi? Thanks in advance. Okay, so the ideal point of breathing in Kirikaeshi is at the beginning, yeah? Yeah? You can take a breath there, I guess, all right? It's even better if they don't, yeah? Breathe first. Yeah! Step in. Man, tayatari. Man, 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 man. Take a quick breath there during tayatari. Man, 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 man. Then you can breathe. Okay? So that's when you can breathe. That's the best place to do. I guess you could add another breath in the beginning part. Like in the first bit, you could go, yeah, man, 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 man. You can breathe there. I guess that's okay too, all right? But the renzoku sayumenichi, the diagonal strikes, you should try to do all of those in one breath. And after the last men to their left, to your right, man, man. This all has to be in one breath. That's super important, okay? It shouldn't be man, yeah, man, like this. Shouldn't be like that, okay? And if that's tough, now most people struggle with that, especially at the beginning. It's acceptable for them to go, to be like, yeah, step in, man, breathe, man, 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 man. That's acceptable at the beginning, working towards removing that breath after the first 4 yokomen, okay? That's the ideal. Okay, that's what they have to do. Actually, no, it's not the ideal. That's what they have to do. So yeah. Next one. Hi Andy. In recent Keigo, my sensei is saying I'm bashing too much with my shoulders. I'm earnestly trying to put the tenuchi into the strike, but not understanding where I'm going wrong. I'm noticing that I watch some videos. There's a little pop up after the men's strike, and I've seen even higher dans raise their arms and lift the shinai high in front of them after striking men. Should I make a more conscious effort to raise the shinai like this after I strike men? Appreciate the insights. Thanks as always. No, do not do that. Right? Don't make a conscious effort to raise your hands over after striking. It will not end how you think it will end. Those senseis that you're seeing do that, generally, the shinai does pop up after you strike, because it kind of, after you make the snap of the tenuchi with your wrist, palm this way, palm like that, that's kind of the strike like that, yeah? Bam, like that. Bam, it does rebound back. It's not like that. It's like a pop, isn't it? Yeah, so it does bounce back. And of course, you've got the force of the shinai bending and then reverting back. That sends it back this way as well. But what you don't see the really good players do, they don't go there like that and then come over their head like that. Generally, bam, like this, it stays pretty much in front of their head for the most part. However, don't try to do that. That's a natural thing that happens when you get the tenuchi correct. So don't add that. It's not going to work out how you want it to. Instead, you're using your shoulders to swing the shinai, when you need to be less using your shoulders, using your elbows slightly, but really using your wrists. You have to move the shinai with your wrists. Men, 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 kote, men, kote, men. Like this, yeah? Not men, kote, kote, men, yeah? Kote, kote, men, 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 men. This way, yeah? Same with the left. This way, yeah? Just with the wrists, just the wrists, okay? It's not that you never use your shoulders to the elbows, but this is the problem that you've got. I'm sure of it, all right? You're not using your wrists enough in your strikes, okay? And you're compensating with your shoulders, all right? And that's why you're getting this bash idea, all right? And that's why you're not getting that crisp pop that you're thinking of, okay? If that makes sense. That's it. Thanks for joining me. That was a great show. Don't forget to shop at KendoStar. That's the most important thing if you want to support the channel. I know you weren't expecting the mystery KendoStar video. It's in there somewhere. Even I don't know where it is because I haven't decided where I'm putting it in yet, but it's in there. And yeah, that's to stop you skipping it, because I know you guys, some of you were cheeky little ones, were skipping the intro to get past the shop at KendoStar plug. And if you stop the video now, well, you're not going to hear this, but don't. Shop at KendoStar, all right? It's my website. It's brilliant. You know that, right? Like, share, subscribe. Most importantly, second most importantly, after shopping at KendoStar, ring the Kendo bell. You've done it, right? You've rung the Kendo bell. You go down there, there's a subscribe button. Click that, don't worry, it doesn't do anything. Subscribe doesn't do anything, just click that. Then, there's a bell. You've got to click that. Otherwise, all these questions, forget the answers. They're not going to work unless you click the bell. The Kendo bell makes you get better at Kendo. Slowly, it's not an overnight thing, but you got to just trust in the bell. So go down there, subscribe, click, ring the bell. See you next time, folks. Bye-bye.